And after I do this, I should get a link. And here is that, the link, share. So I'll send this to you in Skype.
In Skype.
My computer's going to make the fan noise because I get my new computer tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, I'm still got some fan noise. I ordered a sound dampener thing because the only thing left for me to do is like rearrange my desk area, and I really don't want to because there's not that much space down here, and everything is kind of like optimally arranged, and I could move it, but I really don't want to. I could, but we'll see.
Okay, it's going, and I'm gonna tweet it real quick, and you just tweet it, and then we'll get
so
two people in there to.
Yes. Okay, I will do this now.
And I'm gonna minimize everything else. I'm gonna pop out the chat. I think I can pop out the chat. Can I pop out chat? Yeah. So then I can close everything except the chat, and except my notes. Is the chat popped out? Yeah, it is. And so then I can do. If anybody shows up, hello. We are getting things ready. And can I close this window and keep the chat open? I can. Ooh. It's like I've never streamed before. Come on, Carlos, get with it. Oh, yeah, with this microphone, it does pick up my keyboard more, though, it seems. So why this one's great is because it has a near and far mode, which means that when I do my sketches, I can put it on far mode, and it'll get it a reach farther across the room.
Sure.
Which is crazy for a directional mic to be able to pull off, but.
Okay, I just tweeted the link. So hold on a second.
Oh, let's listen to the stream. Can you listen to on your end?
Yeah.
And just see if our volumes are the same. Yeah. I'm talking, then you talk.
Yeah, here. It sounds good.
But we both sound about the same level?
I believe so. Keep talking again.
Check. 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, check. It sounds okay to me.
Okay, I'll triple check too. Oh, check. It's like low latency, so it's really quickly. So talk again for me. Oh, check.
Talking again right now. We're really testing levels.
So talk again for me.
Checking out all the levels. Testing levels.
Yeah, you're a little low. I'll turn you up a smidge. Okay, talk one more time.
Talking again. This is the other time I'm talking. There we go. Good.
Okay, so we are good on both ends. Oop, I'm making noise. With my fancy microphone.
Oh my God, so much noise. Oh my God, how can you
watch,
stand
I can get real close up like this. See how it's going here.
All right, we all ready to do this?
He's like, shut up about your microphone. He's like, I just want to do the freaking podcast.
I gotta make enough time to watch Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh, I know, it came out today.
I'm on the clock, dude.
Yeah, I know. I want to see it too. Okay, I'm trying to juggle a bunch of things here. Hold on.
Well, put that shit down and focus on the podcast.
No, you motherfucker.
Wah, wah.
Okay, you're canceled. I'm canceling you in the beginning of our first live stream ever.
Just put me on top of a stack of Dr. Seuss books.
Wait, is he canceled?
No, did you not hear all that hubbub of the Dr. Seuss? It's stupid. I'll tell you later.
I guess I didn't. Okay, so we both just tweeted it?
Yep.
Okay, so that's out. If we get a few people, then that'd be great, so we can talk to them and test out the chat. And I have my notes, and I am making sure I'm recording. I am. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Where did the script go? Hold on a second. Gotta get this.
And I have some housekeeping, but I won't keep. It won't be a ton of stuff.
That's fine. Whatever. Just doing a show, man. Okay, and we'll double check this is working. Yep. Okay. You good?
Wait. One more thing. I am doing a studio over here, so cut me some slack, Brett Galloway.
Go ahead, do it.
Gosh damn it! Although no one's listening to the stream yet, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So we're good.
Oh, you know what I should do? Oh fuck. Okay, I'm gonna do one more thing. Sorry, bear with me.
What are you doing?
I had the pop-up chat, but I don't like that because now I can't see our stream. So now I'm doing it where the chat's inside the stream.
All right.
Just give me a second. Oh, I'm going to give us a thumbs up. You should give us a thumbs up. It helps.
It helps.
It does. The algorithm looks at it and sees if there's a thumbs up or not. See, now we got 3 people watching. Okay.
All right. You all set?
I'm ready. I am ready. Yes.
Okay.
Oh wait.
Motherfucker, what are you doing? What are
Okay,
you doing?
in your intro, you have to.
Yes.
Hopefully, you do, but you have to mention it's the live episode that we're doing a live episode.
I didn't have a note. I figured we would just
Okay, well,
forget
I just
you.
think. I mean, I can do it if you want. If you want to
No,
like
I got it.
do
I got
like a
it.
funny like intro to me about being live or something, and I'll just run with it.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yep.
You're
Yes, in
writing
real
it
time.
now, aren't you?
In
Yeah.
real time. In real time.
Hey, someone got to listen to that. If we keep this in.
Someone heard us making that sausage.
Wow.
Peeked behind the curtain there. Okay, here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Welcome to the 226th episode of the So Video Games podcast, where we talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. If we are playing it, we'll be talking about it. Today we are recording on March 31st, 2021. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the editor of GameCritics.com. And 50% of this here show with me is the man who's sounding better than ever and totally live, Carlos Rodella.
What's up? Listen to me and my microphone that's new.
Brand new.
It's fancy. It still smells. You know how like new technology smells of that technology smell?
Are you sure that's the microphone?
It might not be.
Carlos, we're live, dude.
We are live. This is a live podcast. Not every time, but we thought we'd try that every once in a while because we want to talk to all the people who listen to the show and put them in the chat and chat with them while we're doing the show.
Yeah, something fun to do once in a while, kind of testing it out. You got some new gear. I got some new gear. I've had some pretty hurting audio gear for a while. Carlos finally found a good deal for me because I'm a notorious penny pincher. And I got some new microphone. I got a new setup. Hopefully, folks listening to the show, hopefully it sounds at least a little bit better.
It should sound like a lot better. I mean, you sound great, and I know I sound great. Come on.
Come
microphone.
On. Hey, yo.
But yeah, I think this is really close to what we want to sound like. I still have an old PC, and I get a new PC, I think, tomorrow. So right now, forgive me if you hear a fan noise in the background, because that is my old computer just wheezing its last minutes of breath. And then you have that furnace still.
Yes, I got a furnace because I'm in the basement, and it's weird because in my house upstairs it is like toasty. It's like 70 upstairs, and then I come downstairs and it's like frost on the walls, and I am freezing my balls off. So I'm like in a sweater. I got earmuffs. I got a scarf because it's cold down here. But then you go upstairs, literally just 5 feet above my head, and it's like Florida up there.
That's weird. You do a podcast in the frozen tundra.
I know. The Games Critics West studio is icy cold, but that's okay. You may hear the furnace rumbling in the background, maybe not. You may hear other random noises. We're going to get this sorted out. We are moving upwards and onwards. It's getting better and better.
Yes, and we're doing the live podcast. We're going to try it maybe every month. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, sure. That works.
Okay. So this is a live podcast, but we have to do a podcast. So let's talk about.
Oh, wait.
Stuff.
We also were going to say, we forgot.
What?
So right now, we're recording this at 5 o'clock Wednesday Pacific time, which is our general time that we record. We got it locked down pretty good. We got a good rhythm going. But I know that we have a lot of listeners around the world. We are a global podcast. We love our international listeners. Tons of people in South America, tons of people in Europe. And if you guys and girls or people of other genders would like us to, I think that maybe once in a while we would be happy to do one on a different time zone. So maybe the people in Europe or elsewhere in the world could listen to us live. And speaking of which, Digitally Downloaded just popped into the chat. Hello, Digitally. Nice to see you there. Thanks for coming aboard.
Yeah, and that's definitely the case. Like a global community, people forget about that. And we are, one specific time zone. So let's try to do the next one at a different time zone.
Yeah, and if you got a request, if you 100% for sure are going to jump aboard and chat with us, then let us know. We'll do the best we can to accommodate your international time zone because we're good like that.
We are good like that.
All right, enough of the formalities. Let's just get on with the show here because it is a normal show. And of course, if you're listening to this in the future, it's not live for you, but it is live right now. Let's just pretend it's all worked out.
Time is an illusion, okay?
It's very strange. Carlos, we've got a house to keep. It's a little bit messy. I'm checking on my side of the house, my side of the duct tape down the middle of the floor. My house is actually very clean right now.
Ooh.
The only thing on my side is that I am itching to go watch Godzilla vs. Kong tonight. But other than that, Nothing on my side of the house. What you got on your side?
Well, on my side, I'm also going to be watching that tonight. So that's yeah, it's out today. So we're
Just
excited.
today. Nice.
And also on my side, it's a little messy. A couple things. Avengers, I guess, officially launched that game. Remember Marvel Avengers?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The sort of an action third person game, but also sort of a live loot fest grind sort of a
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
games as a service.
yeah.
I think when I first talked about it, I was pretty meh, and then I went to load it up. And by the way, it was a new update, and it was 70 gigabytes. And I was like, "Good
Wow.
golly, these people! Updates are like the whole game, another game." Anyways, I tried to load my save game. It couldn't find it. I tried all this like
What?
PS4 stuff, conversion. I don't know what it
Did you
was.
start it on PS4 and then you were trying to pick it up on PS5?
Yes,
Or
that's
okay,
exactly it. And then
I've
I
heard
like
people have that problem.
yeah, but I did all the, I followed the YouTube videos. I looked around. I did everything I was supposed to do. It just didn't, like, it reset all the campaigns. And
Oh man.
am not going to go back and do those because they were tough, as I did it. I remember telling you, I was like, this is a slog.
Jesus. So you lost all that progress then. You
I
just
think I
nothing to do
lost
for
it.
it.
Yeah, unless someone like can tweet me or message us in the chat or maybe during this live podcast and tell me how I can fix it. But right now, when I go to the campaign section, it's all reset, and I just deleted it. I was like, okay, well,
Jeez.
tell me when I can do that. I don't know.
It's
Uh,
funny, dude, because I bought a copy of that game, but then I have not played it, haven't touched it, and I was thinking I was going to wait till I got to the five, and now they're adding some more characters and stuff. I'm still not like super convinced to jump in yet, but I'm waiting. But man, it seems like it's been a mess with this data. That's really too bad about your campaign.
I know. I just like backed away. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
kind of out of the house. It's cleaned. The other thing was in PlayStation, we've talked about like the store and how it's like displays the new games.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be like all the coming soon and just announced was right next to like the new releases. And it was kind of messy because you're like, wait, is this one out? I can't tell. You had to
Ugh,
scroll
really
down.
dislike that. Yes.
Yeah. So they fixed it, but it's still got a problem because basically they fixed it and you have just released and you have coming soon. But the just released is out of order. Like
What do you mean? Like, what is
you
it now?
you can't sort it. Like it doesn't sort. It's just like I don't know what order it's in, but like the ones that are the newest are at the bottom and it just doesn't make sense. It still doesn't feel like it's fixed.
Dude, like this is not difficult. Like I feel like I mean, granted I'm not like a programmer or anything, but like I've been to many digital storefronts and it's not that hard. Like newest stuff goes at the top. You should be able to sort it by, alphabetical or by just, date released. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I don't know what it is. It just makes me confused every time I try to
I'm
use
sure
it.
there's some engineer at Sony Software who is like cussing me out like a blue streak right now because he's like, "You don't know how hard this is."
Yeah.
And it's probably true, but at the same time, from the customer's perspective, it should be that hard.
It's just weird. I just want to know the new stuff so I can go get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two more things. Sega Frontier has a remaster version coming out. Nothing really to mention about it except I think I'm excited to play it because I played that when I was a kid. And I don't like the artwork at all. So that hurts.
Yeah, I mean, we famously talked about this a while ago, and that was a game that I believe I gave a point 0.5 to. So I'm way less excited for it than you are, but I am looking forward to your comments. And Digitally says, yeah, Sony can't even keep their stores online. Yeah, they're having all sorts of trouble, but
Well,
very, very true.
the-
Anyway,
the-
about Saga though.
yeah,
I
about
look forward
Saga is
to
just
your-
I'm just not going to be playing it. I don't know if I will because like you said, we're both like not. I mean, you're more of a stickler for art than I am, but it's still got it's something you're looking at this whole time. And how many hours of an RPG you're going to look at this thing? You want the art to be something that's pleasing or that you get, and it kind of vibes with you.
Absolutely.
So it's like just like looks like watercolor paintings, and I'm just not into it. So the other thing is the ID at Xbox had a huge show. Did you see any of it?
No, people told me about it afterwards, and I caught some of the PR because whenever one of those shows goes down, I always get like a million emails in my inbox. So I saw a lot of those games that are going to be like debuting on Game Pass, which is rad. I love that idea, and a lot of those games are pretty cool. So one of the things I'm most excited for was Dead State Drive. I have my eye on this game for like a long time. I didn't see it on the show. I don't know if they featured it, but I was ecstatic when I heard that it was coming to Game Pass. Really looking forward to that one for quite a while. But yeah, it seems like it was a pretty good lineup, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I have a list. We won't go through all of it now, and maybe either on a next episode or something. But it's just like there's so many good games that they just drop trailers for,
Yeah.
and it was a kind of a quietly, produced show. Like, oh yeah, here it is, and here's a million games, and we're going to talk to tons of developers. So I just good on them for doing that because it was a really cool experience. And I just kind of kept the stream up all day, and it was almost like 3 or 4 hours of them just doing stuff and then showing trailers. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I should check it out.
Yeah. So look, anybody who's interested, just Google on YouTube, YouTube search ID at Xbox Show, and give it a look.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I meant to put this in the housekeeping, and I just noticed it over here in the corner. One of the free games coming up on, I keep wanting to say Game Pass. It's not Game Pass. Games, no, it's not Games of Gold either. Fuck, what is the,
I
what
don't
is
know.
the PlayStation Plus is what I meant to say. Sorry, I've got Xbox in the brain. Did you notice that one of the games coming up in April on PlayStation Plus is Days Gone?
Oh, it's like we
Speak of the
planned
devil. It's like we planned it. I think Sony was watching our feed. They were listening to our show. They were hearing us go on and on about it. And they're like, if Brad and Carlos like it so much, we should give it to the people for free.
That's exactly why it happened. Exactly.
I'm very excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, people, especially after you can listen to our spoiler episode after you pick it up and play it.
Anything left in your side of the house?
No, I think that's it. I've brought in the broom, and now I'm just dusting.
All right, excellent. All right, house looks pretty clean. Let's get on to the main content of the show. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Carlos, let's kick it off with you. Now, I don't know anything about this title. The thing that I do know about it, put out by Square Enix, and they put out a demo, and basically every single person who played the demo said it was terrible. So I immediately stopped paying attention to it. But I know that you're playing it now. I'm going to get your feedback and your thoughts right now. This is called, excuse me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, it's called Balan, Balan, Balan Wonderworld?
Yep. I think it's Balan Wonderworld. That's
Balan
what we'll go
Wonderworld?
with. Yeah.
Okay.
And for the exact reason you said what people were talking about it online is why I picked it up, and that's kind of a classic Carlos.
You zig when they zag?
Oh, I do. I zig all over the place. No, I shouldn't have said that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I got uncomfortable really quickly.
Wait, I'm going to edit this, even though it's a live podcast.
Too late, buddy.
So no, yeah, I do like pick up games when people say like, oh no, I just, that's just garbage or whatever. So I'm always interested to get a different opinion on it. And so
I thought you were going to say you're interested in garbage.
I am also interested in garbage. I have a collection and I put it on the wall and I sell it as an NFT.
Oh, Jesus.
I will bring that into the podcast someday and you would just yell and scream at me.
We're not today, though.
Not today. Balan Wonderworld. So everyone's, hating on it, right? And I know of it. I watched like a mini documentary that they did maybe a year ago. And it just looked like a fun Banjo-Kazooie type game, right?
Okay.
The Super Lucky Tales of the world, the Mario 64s, etc. It's just like go in, collect stuff, see whimsical stuff, beat bosses, and that's it. And I was like, well, I really can't go wrong with that. And it just looked like it was running so smooth. I think they were showing it on the PS5. So I got it for the PS5 version because there is 2 versions. And it runs like a dream, like nothing, like no hiccups, 60 frames per second. It just feels like, buttery smooth. I like it. But what the game is, it's kind of like a fever dream or a nightmare that's not that scary because what you do as this like little character is basically you start the game either as a guy or a girl.
Okay.
And there's a cutscene of like them. There's a lot of dancing in this game. They're dancing. And after they stopped dancing, at least the boy version got really sad, like super sad. And then he just walked the streets and he found this mystery, like mystical store. And then he walked in and of course it was Balan's store. This guy who's like not a real person. He's a supernatural thing. I don't know what he is.
Okay.
Anyways, so whoever you play as, you walk into the store. So the guy or the girl, but it shows a perspective of the girl walking in too, which is weird. Like, I don't know what they're saying. Like both people are walking in. Anyways, you and her walk in, the guy and the girl walk in, and then he just brings you to a mystical place. And then no other answers. Just like, all right, you're here. And the first world is like Farmer World.
Okay. So it's where he brought it in Nebraska.
Yeah, it went to Iowa or wherever. And all of a sudden there's this huge farmer guy, and he's just like, there's a cutscene, and he's also kind of depressed, and there's like some dark clouds, and I think I'm getting the feeling he's going to lose his farm or something. I'm so confused at this point.
Times are really hard for farmers right now. They're
It
losing
is a
some
hard time for
subsidies. It's
farmers.
been
You're
really
right. You're
rough
right.
economically. I
This
get
is
it.
real
I get
life.
it.
This is real life.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, and then I'm doing like, the farmer land, right? So I'm just running around, jumping around, collecting things and solving puzzles, whatever, and beating bosses. And the point is, after you beat that, and there is a kind of a boss, like you get a huge cutscene. It's like a Pixar quality of this farmer, and like he's better now. Like the clouds are gone away. You saved his farm, but I don't even know why, or where I am. And I can't explain it to you, but everything in the game makes you feel like you're tripping.
So,
Like
I mean, what I looked at a really quick clip of it, and it made me think of like Knights a little bit. You ever play Knights?
yes, that's exactly what it feels like.
Okay, that's kind of the vibe I was getting, where it's kind of like dreamy weemy, and you're doing some strange stuff. But I mean, granted, I didn't watch it for very long. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But that was like
It's
my 1 second takeaway.
The playability is different, and I'll tell you what the actual game plays like right now. And digitally downloaded in the chat agrees and says Balan Wonderland is wonderfully whimsical. It is. It's wonderful and whimsical, but it's also weird. Like it's very weird. So what you do as the character is the whole game is about costumes. So you find these little keys, and the keys unlock this little costume block, and it's got a costume inside, and each one is obviously geared towards where you are in the level, right? So
Sure.
there's a bunch of water, and you just need to swim through it really fast. You find like a fish suit or something, and then there's there's literally hundreds, I think. So it's not just like you get the few suits like in Mario. It's like no, every level has like 6 suits potentially. Like a lot of different suits, and then you cycle between them, right?
Okay.
For
Okay.
puzzles, right? So one is a teleporter. You have to teleport through these bricks, get something, come back. Now there's a monster, so you have to teleport to the person who can shoot. And it's like, it's cool that way. Like, I like that there's so many different costumes, and it makes your character like, it's not just one thing, right? There's so many things you can do in the game. The problem is, well, one is you collect those things, and if you die, you lose that costume. So you have to go back and find one.
Oh man!
That's
Wow, you were
weird.
kind of building me up there, and that you just immediately deflated me.
I know that does. You don't die a lot though, right? It's not like super hard. So put that with a grain of salt. Also,
Okay.
there's a lot of collecting things, and one thing you collect in it is a hat that basically creates a cutscene for Balan to show up, and you do like quick time events with him, and he like defeats monsters.
The guy who owns the store.
Yeah, he shows up a lot. And then the other weird thing, if this isn't, it's weird enough, all the costumes that you meet in the game, well, that you find in the game, are there, and they also dance around the land. Like,
The costumes on their own with nobody in them.
well, they're kind of people inside the costumes. I don't know.
Do you
I
kick
don't
the
know.
people out and steal it from them? I'm
No. It doesn't make sense. Listen, anything I'm explaining won't make sense
I
until
was
you
gonna
play
say,
it.
yeah. I'm not following you, brother. I don't
And
know
it's
what's going on.
wait, hold on. Here's the part where it gets weirder. You have a hub world, and there's always bunnies there, bunny type creatures. And
Sure.
whenever you, I like how you just sure.
Of course there is. What else would be there?
Well, we've done enough podcasting for years that you could just say sure. Anyways,
yeah.
you the crystals that you get in all the levels, you come back to hub world and feed it to them, and so then they eat it, and sometimes they get bigger. And then sometimes you feed one of the little bunnies to the big bunny so they can procreate. Because
That's not how that works, bro.
it is in Battle and Wonder World. And then they're building something in the hub world, like they're working on something this whole time. So you have to keep feeding them.
And
Man, dude, it is weird. At some point, there's
I
more
don't know
dancing.
about this. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
I
feeling a little bit.
uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable playing it, but then I was also like very interested in how like smooth it was running and how cool it looked.
Yeah.
So I'm out on the fence. Nope, that's not it. I'm on the fence.
You're on the fence. Yeah.
The
So, I mean,
jury's out.
How far into it are you? And do you feel like yeah, I'm vibing with this. I'm gonna keep going, or is this like, okay, I'm good and I'm moving on? Like,
I
how
think
are
I'm
you?
still going, and I'm gonna try to get like to the next boss because that cutscene was so cool, man. Like I don't understand it, and it confused me, and it felt like I was dreaming. But it was so well produced. It's like a straight up Pixar film. Like it's.
I mean, I enjoy watching farmers get happy. That brings me joy as well. So
I did make him
I
happy.
feel you.
I fixed his farm. Anywho, that's Balan Wonderworld. I don't understand it. I don't think people should shit on it at all because like it's not like a bad game. It's just a very weird game, and I think maybe people were expecting some certain thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you're expecting something and then you don't get it, you get sad. but it's a weird, whimsical thing. And
Okay.
that's my review.
There we go. Balan Wonderworld. You're playing it on PS5, I assume?
PS5, and it's buttery smooth.
All right. I'm going to talk now for a piece. Really quickly, just a few words on Starbase Startopia. This is a kind of an economic sim management. You're running a space station in space, and there's lots of aliens. You got to do all sorts of stuff inside the space station, build amenities, attractions and food, and kind of manage your electricity usage and kind of balance all those things in order to keep the aliens happy because you want to have a bustling space station seen from kind of like the God view. Clearly started on PC. This wouldn't ordinarily be something I was interested in, but my son, who is 11, soon to be 12, loves anything to do with space, and he actually has been really getting into a lot of like sim games lately. All sorts of like, he was playing The Sims for a while. He was playing City Skylines for a while. He's doing, like all those ones that you can get on the console. He was really getting into some of those, and he loves space in general. So I thought, well, here's one of those plus space. So win, right? I'm going to be like Dad of the Year for like, introducing you to
Yeah.
this. Yeah, hard fail.
Oh.
Um, the problem with this game, I think, and interestingly, I gave him the code for this, and I was working on something else. I'm like, here, get started on this. I'm going to go do this other thing. I'll come back and check in with you. And by the time I came back, I expected him to be neck deep in it, and he was already playing something else. I think he was back on Fortnite or whatever. And I'm like, man, what happened to Startopia? He's like, oh, Dad, that game's 0. And I'm like, oh, okay, really? He's like, yeah, I just can't. I can't do it no more. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to force you because I'm not that kind of father, but I will have to check it out myself. Kind of curious because it doesn't usually bounce off of games that hard. But I mean, in this case, I think he was right. I think it's a fine game if you're used to the genre, but this one seems very, very like PC sensibilities. Like I don't feel like a lot of changes were made for console. A lot of stuff is mapped to the controller, but it feels really awkward and weird. The tutorials, oh man, the tutorials need some work. I started playing it myself because I'm like, well, let me see if I can make some sense out of this. I'm not even kidding, dude. I am not kidding. I got into the first tutorial. The very first step of the first tutorial, I got stuck and I couldn't figure it out. And I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
the
oh my
worst.
God. And I eventually got past it, but like I'm sorry, dude. I've got like what 35, 40 years of video game experience. Like I've played some games. Like I getting stuck on the tutorial in step 1 shows that a little bit more work should have been put into that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel very it runs, right? Like it runs fine. And I think that if you're a PC player or you got a lot of PC experience under your belt, I think you'd probably be fine with it. But coming to it with console sensibilities like he did and like I did, we were like finding very hard to find a good groove, right? So I was like struggling with it. And immediately it's like giant spreadsheets of like, here's all this electricity usage and here's like the percentage and here's how many people are coming in. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is overkill. Like, and I'm sure it's fine if you're used to that. Like if you're used to being like a spreadsheet gamer, but we're not, right? Like, and it doesn't feel like it's a really good fit for console. I'm a little bit curious as to why they thought this would fly on console, because when you see some of the sim stuff that does work on console, it works because it's simplified. You can approach it. The controls work. There's not like mountains and mountains of data. Like it's like doing things. It's physically putting things. There's a different kind of approach to it. So I don't think that Starbase Startopia is a bad game. I don't want to say it's a bad game, but I definitely think you need to have like that PC background. Like, and if you come to it with that experience, I think it'll be more familiar, more approachable. You'll probably be more willing to take it on. But at the same time, if you have a PC and you're used to it, you're probably playing it on PC. So you're
Right.
probably not going to want to play it on your Xbox or your PS5 or whatever. So I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm always up for more genres being represented on console, but I mean, this is a good example of like, this could be cool, but it needs more work in the adaptation,
Yeah.
not just a porting. With the distinction being you make certain changes to make it more approachable for the different audience. This feels just more like a kind of a port, and I feel like it just is not quite getting there. You know what I mean?
But that's what I was going to say. It sounds like it's not even a port. You know what I mean? It's like it wants to be a port, but it's not actually ported. Because like what you're saying, and the key thing is, I know exactly what that is because I've seen
Yeah,
those types of games just get sent over, but not like
yeah,
actually modified in any real way.
yeah. That's kind of what I mean. Like it's brought over, it functions. I mean, it runs well, but like the menus don't quite make sense. Like the presentation doesn't quite make sense in terms of console sensibilities, right? So like I'm sure it's fine on PC, and I'm sure PC players will have no problem with it because you're used to that. But we are a different breed in the console area, and it's not quite gelling for me. My son did not want to play it anymore at all.
Your
So
son gave it a 0.
he did, and I told him I would say that on the podcast. But I mean, it's a good game. Just I don't think it's quite right for console. So maybe check it out on PC if you
Yeah.
like those kind of sims. It's colorful, it's cute. You know, the idea of running a space station is neat, but you know, so there you
Listen,
go.
some games are just PC games, and that's
It's
fine.
true.
You know
It's
what I
very
mean?
true. It's
Like,
very true. Speaking of which, I have played a little bit of a recent turn-based strategy, clearly inspired by Bloodborne, called Black Legend, and I know that you have
oh
played it
boy.
too. Am I correct?
Yes, I have, and I played it independently. I had no idea that you were going to be playing it, so I just
When you told me you were playing Black Legend, I'm like, what?
can.
Why did you pick this? Because this doesn't seem like a Carlos game at all.
I know. Can I tell you why I picked it?
Yes, please do.
So one, I love the just the world and the idea and aesthetic of Bloodborne, but I don't like Bloodborne.
But you don't like. I was gonna say, but you don't like Bloodborne
Which
though.
go ahead, send me all the hate mail. I've already heard it all before. So it's just because I'm not a Dark Souls person, and it's
Sure.
if something gets so difficult that I just throw the controller down, I'm just not going to play it. But this had that aesthetic. I think you said
Yes.
the same thing in your review, and I love that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And I was just coming off of like a tactics RPG that I kind of liked, you know, and I was like, ooh, if someone would have just done something a little different, or the world was cool, I might really be in the mood for tactics RPG right now, because you have to do it just right for me. I don't know. I can't get in any of them. So that the aesthetic mixed with just like the idea of it's kind of supernatural, right? But it's also
Oh yeah.
like piratey or something. Not pirate, but you know, like
Kind of like medieval Puritan a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I guess it was really just kind of the atmosphere of it all, and especially in the very beginning. We'll get to the review here in a minute, but like has feelings of an RPG, you know?
It does. It does have the suggestion. I mean, it seems to like have that structure, but definitely a turn-based tactics game. I didn't realize that you played many of those. You don't get into those very often, do you?
It's got to be again the world. Like if the world is cool and it has enough RPG elements, I know it's an overused term.
Sure.
Then I will get into it. But literally, I'm telling you, the main reason is because I wanted to be in a world like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and like a million other people. I mean, I have to think that the people who made Black Legend, I believe their studio is called War Cave. I mean, clearly inspired by Bloodborne, like in every way. Like, it's a city that is being plagued by like disease and evil and demons, just like in Bloodborne. The whole thing is choked with fog, and it's gray, just like Bloodborne. You're like not an assassin, like I don't know, mercenary or something showing up, kind of like how you roll up to the city when you're Bloodborne because you're a hunter, which is basically like a mercenary. I mean, dude, it's like you know, box check, all the way down. This seems very much like Bloodborne, which again, kind of like you, is kind of like why I checked it out. I think the aesthetic is cool. I think I like Bloodborne more than you do. Not to say that I'm a huge Bloodborne fan, because I do have some serious problems with it. It's not my favorite FromSoft game by a mile, but I did play it, and I did enjoy parts of it. But I was like, oh yeah, cool. This looks cool, and you know the puritanical costume, the vibe. I mean, they kind of look like you're witch hunters or something like that. I mean, kind of neat. But dude, I mean, I don't know how you felt about it, but once I got into this, I was like, ooh, this is really, really rough, and I basically bounced off almost immediately. I put a couple hours into it, but it was like torture for me.
Yeah. The main thing is I liked the tactics is weird. It's like a slow tactics game, right? Like
Yeah, do not like.
yeah, it was way too slow, so that was frustrating. But I was like, I get excited when I can beat anything, you know. And I was like, okay, I took out the first two guys. Let's see where I can go. But then they introduced this mechanic that is the worst. And I saw your review, you mentioned the same thing. For some reason, they decided to do this thing about what are they called? Humors.
Humors. The medieval concept of fluids in the body which have different properties and different colors, which actually is horseshit because it's not real, but it's like their theory back in the day that every sickness was caused by an imbalance of humors. That's a real thing. You can look it up on Wikipedia or something. That was like medieval theory.
Yeah, it was bad medicine.
Very bad medicine.
It was
Absolutely.
what didn't fix anything. But the point is, they wanted you to take this bad medicine and weird fake science, and it creates colors for some reason that I still don't understand. And different items that you throw at enemies in these humors changes the colors of the enemy now, like they're painted, almost like what's that painting game? You know,
I mean,
Splatoon.
platoon or something
You're
like
like
that.
splatooning them, you know? And then because if you do the right color combination, they like you can hit them more, and if you don't, it's like really really difficult to take them out. So what a shit weird thing to do. And
Yeah,
it
ugh,
really matters too. Like I didn't want to use it. I was like I won't use it. I'll just like upgrade all my stuff. But no, they're just not as easy to take out without humoring them.
yeah, oof, that's painful.
The humor
Yeah,
stuff is dumb. Yeah.
it is really dumb. It's a bad system, and it's a lot of complication that doesn't really add anything. Like if it was a bonus tactic that you could use if you felt like using it, I mean that might be okay. But like you said, if you don't paint the enemies the right colors, which I mean the bottom line is like it takes way too long because like you have to have one enemy or one character throws something red at an enemy, your next character throws something black, those two colors combine, and then all of a sudden that enemy is vulnerable, and then you have to have somebody else do an attack. So that's like three, at minimum three separate actions to do one effective attack, whereas in any other tactics game you just attack. Like it's
Yeah.
taking too much time, it's not really adding anything to the game because it's just a lot of busy work. And then if you don't do it, like you're only doing chip damage the entire time. It takes forever to kill even like the scrub mobs that you meet and you're walking through the town. Like it's too much hassle for not enough return, and it's not exciting. It's not a good system. I think these developers got really too into the idea of doing it and didn't really realize what the ultimate effect of it was. And it kind of kills the combat.
Yeah, it does. And you're right. That's the main reason is that the turn-based stuff, it shouldn't cost so much turns to just throw something, right? Like you're just throwing a color, basically. It kind
Yeah.
of hurts them, I guess, right? There's like a rock hurts. You're like punching people and throwing rocks that do colors. Come on, people. Like
Yeah.
that should be like a half an action point or just free. How about a
A
free
free
action?
action, yeah. But even a free action, I mean, the idea of doing 3 or 4 moves every time you want to do an attack is just,
You're
it makes
right.
me want to just roll over and die, dude. Like it's so much cruft and busy work. Like you need to cut that away.
Let me say one positive though, and the other reason why I picked it up because I did look at the trailer and I watched some gameplay of it is that it looks cool, and then the when you move around the world and the map, it feels good. Like I really liked how the character moved,
Yeah.
until you stop and turn into a turn-based fight. But like I was like excited to explore more of this kind of setup they did, which is like what is at the end of this weird town and what's going on, you know, the mystery part of it. So, but unfortunately, just like you, I was just stopped at the combat, and it was frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, the rest of it's rough too. It's really hard to see anything. I had to sit so close to my TV because everything is gray and the text is really small and like it's really hard to make out details. Your party are, I mean, the character models are super crude, like really low poly. And when you start the game, they kind of randomly assign you some characters. I had 3 characters that looked literally exactly alike.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm
we
like,
did talk about that.
yeah, I mean, it was like you get to create a character, and then my party of 4 people, 3 of them looked just, I mean, 2 of them looked just like me. We were like triplets, and then like a weirdo showed up. And the other part about this game engine that I really don't like is something that a lot of strategy games fall into, where you can cross train skills. But when you cross train too many skills, you're ending up with a bunch of characters who are all functionally alike, and there's no real difference to have any separate characters. Whereas I think there's more value in having specialists and having different types of characters, different classes. Like why even bother having classes at all when you want them to kind of cross train so that everybody can do everybody attack and everybody can have the same power? It just like I don't understand what they were going for, and I feel like they just did not capture what makes a good turn-based strategy for me.
Yeah, not to pile on it too much more because I think we've said our piece, but yeah, your characters. There's very like few selections you can do to make yourself feel unique,
Oh yeah,
right?
not very much at all.
And
Yeah.
then, like you said, to your party, it's the same person almost, something like the same model they used, and just yeah, it looks weird. You just get assigned people. You don't feel like you have any customization really. And that part with the traits, you're right. You're just like they're like, hey, use this over and over again so you can get good at a bunch of things. And I'm like, well, that's not how it works. That's not how a party works, you know. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it and say, yeah, we're both leaving the game.
Yeah, I mean, great idea. I think the idea of turn-based Bloodborne is still pretty killer. I think there's a lot of space out there for any developer that wants to take that up, but this is not it. So
Yeah.
that is Black Legend. I played it on P. Oh, I played on Xbox X. Where'd you play it?
PS
PS5.
PS5, yeah.
All right, moving on. Back to you, Carlos. Let's talk really briefly about a game called Gensu Skydrift. I don't know very much about this one, except that
Mm,
the videos are ridiculous because it's some kind of like an aerial racing game, but instead of a spaceship or a plane, you have a girl who's riding on top of another girl, and that's that's basically all I know about it.
yep, and that's a real statement, and that's really what the game is. Here's the thing: I'm going to talk about another game instead of this game for most of this review.
Oh
I'm
no.
I'm
Okay. All right. Where are we
setting
going with
setting you
this?
up.
Okay.
So this game is not good. It's potentially like fucking terrible. Um, but what it is it's a really cool concept, but they messed it up. And so the concept is I like any sort of racing game that's weird or different, right? Like
Sure.
not
Sure.
just your traditional racing game.
Sure.
And while this is obviously not your traditional racing game, it's two anime girls. Basically, one's riding the other one, but not like what you think. She's like standing on her back,
The
essentially.
one in the bottom's like planking like a surfboard,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
isn't she?
She's
Yeah. Yeah.
becoming the surfboard or skateboard or whatever. But she's floating, and then your character's on top, and just kind of riding it. But it could be a board. It doesn't even matter really, because it doesn't seem like there's any real too much interaction.
Okay.
Basically, it's a kart racer where you are floating in that scenario that I just said. You go through certain rings. The certain rings make you go faster. You pick up energy or something so you can do your magic because you're witches, I guess, and you can do
Okay.
magic, and the magic does certain things, whatever. There's multiplayer and then there's campaign. I picked the campaign, and I was actually really excited because I like unique racing games that are weird. And it's just bad. And the number one reason it's bad is you can't use triggers for the acceleration.
What do you do?
You have to push a button.
Oh, really? Do the buttons on the PS5 have the like the variations, or is it just a
No,
button? Oh,
I
okay.
don't think they do. And it wouldn't matter anyhow because you can't, in this day and age, you can't do a racing game with buttons because just imagine going from gas on like X button or whatever, and then the box button is the brake.
Yeah.
Like that's just it's almost impossible. You're like rocking your thumb back and forth. So that's the number one reason it's bad. If they just added controls, I might play it longer. But you have to make a lot of stops and turns, and like I was just fucking up.
So the controls did not work for you, and
It
I'm
just
assuming you can't change them.
you couldn't. I couldn't. I don't think you could. I mean, I definitely went to the settings menu. Let me make sure till I talk a bunch of shit about it. But I don't think you can.
Okay.
If you could, it's still like a serviceable game. Like it's nothing like to write home about. But the number one reason I got so messed up about it is the campaign starts, and it's just text, right? And it's like a story. It'd be,
Okay.
which is I don't know, doesn't matter what the story is, but the story is just text, and that's really weird for a game that's like so full of like these big, huge anime characters. So then the text ends, and I was like tired of reading it, and then all of a sudden, two anime characters pop up, like
Okay.
2D animation, like it should have been, like 2D, whatever, little avatars,
Like they're having dialogue or
like
something.
they're having
Sure.
dialogue, like they
Yeah.
should have been in the beginning, and then they repeat themselves.
Oh man.
So what was that? I don't know. And then then I got into the racing that I did enjoy, and here's the other game I'm going to talk about instead: Running Wild. Do you remember that game?
Oh, dude, from back like on PS1.
PS1. That
God, I
was
haven't thought
really
about the game in
fun.
years. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
crazy.
think about it, and let's like pull it out of the closet. I don't know if I can even play it. I probably don't. I can't, but maybe it's on the PS Now store or something. But that game was fun because it took racing and made it just like, more like you're just running the whole time. Your character's just running, and he can jump, and then he can slide, and it just felt like I don't know how many other games do that where you're actually just a character running around the map as a racing game.
So okay, so pause for a second here. So if I remember correctly, Running Wild, like you said, you're running. Your character is a person, a
Animal,
anthropomorphized
yeah,
person, where they're a half human, half animal, whatever, like a furry or something, and then they're running in this race like on foot, and you had like different powers. You could pick up
yeah.
stuff. So there was like definitely the bones of a racer. Did you? Okay, so like just diverging really hard for a second here.
Well, I
Did you
diverged
ever
this.
see? Did you ever see an animated movie from the early '80s called? I think it's called Animal Olympics. You ever seen
I
that?
know of it. I know of it. I remember it
Oh
being
man.
on like Saturday morning or something.
There's a scene. So in Animal Olympics, it's full of anthropomorphized animals. I mean, I'm sure this probably turned a lot of kids into furries back in the day before they knew it, right? And they had all these different events, and the animals were doing all these things. And there was one where there's like a lady cheetah, and I think the guy is like some kind of a goat or something, and they're going on this marathon, and they're just running, and there's like music, and it's kind of psychedelic and everything. It's actually pretty cool. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to watch it again. But that's what Running Wild made me think of. It seemed like somebody took the marathon section from Animal Olympics and turned that entire thing into a game, and I always was really fascinated by that.
Ah,
I
interesting.
don't think it was as good as the animation in Animal Olympics, but still same sort of thing.
No, it was like old school PS1, clunky graphics, but it was really fun to
Blocky, yeah,
play.
yeah,
And
man.
anyways, I bring it up because this game isn't, it's just not really super fun. And like, obviously the controls are really bad, and the fact that they're mapped to these buttons. I will check later just to make sure, do my due diligence, make sure I can't switch them. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's like one of those budget titles, where you would just get a game or PlayStation. It would have those it would just be called racing,
Yeah.
and be like
$9 racing.
yeah, you
Yes.
get it like Walmart or something, or like it's just like, yeah, you can buy a PlayStation game tonight. Just make sure it's under $10. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy racing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Those were wild times, dude. I remember kind of like that, like going into like an EB Games or Software Etc. or Babbage's or something like that. You'd get up to the fucking counter, and there would be games on PS1 that were so cheap. They were impulse purchases that were set up in a little like kiosk thing right at the counter. Like you would go through the whole store, buy the game that you actually wanted to buy, get to the counter, and then there's like these little cheapy games that are like 5, 7, 9,
Yeah,
$10 that are right at the counter, and you're like, well, like you said, racing or shooting dude
yeah.
or like space adventure or something like that, and like you were like, well, I don't know, looks okay.
Why not?
$7, why not? And you go home with one of those things, and they were almost always trash, but
Yeah,
still interesting times.
platformer. It's just like
Platformer.
platformer, $4.99. Okay, you know what? I got extra $5.
I
By
like
the
to
way,
jump.
I like to jump on things. By the way, there's this thing. Oh, what is it now? That's going to bother me for the rest of the podcast. There was an RPG that was a budget title like that for PlayStation 1, and I don't know if I enjoyed it because I had to. You know what I mean?
When you've
Because
only got one game, that is both your favorite and least favorite game.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, no, 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 it's good. But I do remember like being like, wow, this is an actually competent RPG, and it was like super budget title, and now it's going to bother me the whole podcast.
You're gonna have to like give me some clues. We're gonna have to figure it out.
We'll figure it
What
out.
was? All right, we'll figure it out.
But I will at least do my due diligence, and the next episode I will go back to Gensou Skydrift, however you say it, and make sure I can map the controllers. If I can map them, maybe I'll have some fun. As it stands, I couldn't even play it.
All right, fair enough. That is Gensu Skydrift. I believe it's on PS4/5. I don't know if it's anywhere else. Carlos, you've got one more in your little kiosk here. Octopath Traveler. I'm kind of surprised to see you bring this one up because this has been around for a while. I think they're already on at least the second game, if not the third. What? I mean, again, this is the 2D RPG where you have 8 different characters, each going on their own storyline. Pretty cool looking pixel graphics. What brought this to your attention after it's been out for so long?
Well, I think we talked about on the show actually that it was coming to Game Pass,
Oh, it's
and
on Game Pass right now? I did not realize that.
yeah,
Oh, I thought you were playing this on the Switch.
yeah.
You're playing on Xbox?
No, I'm playing an Xbox. Yeah, because that was the whole thing. There's
Uh,
like 2 or 3 games that I was excited about, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna put them on Game Pass." And I'm like, "Oh, then I will go finally try them."
Score.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So I went to check it out because I love the graphics and I love that visual style, which is kind of like the depth of field they mess with. It's pixely, but it looks somehow modern because they do a lot of fun depth of field stuff and blurring stuff out. And then, yeah, it's a cool style and look. And I've been wanting to play it for so long, and this is a big lead up to a hard pass.
Can't say that I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you were not interested in it for I'm not sure which reasons, but I was interested in just because of the RPG factor and what it looked like. But as I started playing it, I also recently played their new demo for the new game, which I forgot the name of.
Triangle strategy or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that?
triangle something. And I didn't like that at all. It was just so, again, tactics heavy, but in a tactics heavy that I didn't enjoy. And I really didn't like the world they were building. So this is really like these developers that were working on this is a tactics game. Like, it's not an RPG. So I think that there's a lot of, like we just said earlier, it's what you go in expecting. And I was expecting this really cool looking game that looks retro but also new, but is an RPG, like a Sega Frontier, where you have all these different people you're going to meet up with. think ease, think RPG. But it's not. It feels like it's a tactical game that has an RPG attached to it. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just
yeah, I
didn't.
getcha.
It didn't jive with me. I just felt I didn't like the story. I didn't like the feel. I didn't like the combat. I was like surprised that I was so much not into it.
I'm not too surprised because in my Twitter sphere, there's a very specific kind of person who likes that game, and I don't think that I am that person. I don't think you're that person. And what I heard about it was that there was some pretty questionable stuff in the script with regard to how they handled their female characters, and I heard that some of those bosses were just like bonkers banana hard, and just looking at it, I just was like, I mean, I don't really get into a lot of JRPGs or RPGs of that kind these days, and I just everything about it to me screamed stay away. So I never gave it a shot, and it sounds like I made the right call.
Well, it's in Game Pass, and guess what? It didn't cost me a dime, so it's
Yeah.
fine to check out. I will say this also: it did give me an idea for a comedy sketch
Okay.
because I do a lot of these now about games. YouTube.com/a lot of things. Anywho, it's the main character in the beginning. He's like in this like little bedroom, and he used to be like this huge like bodyguard to the king or something, and now he's like fallen, and he's in this small little town, and he doesn't have anything. He's got to work his way back up. But like at some point, like one of the villagers comes in and like hears him like talking to himself, because you know how a lot of these games and RPGs, the hero just kind of exclaim.
Sure.
They're just like,
Sure.
"Well, it's been a long road, but I don't know where if I'll ever get back to what I used to be." But I just felt like, and this wasn't in the game, but it inspired it. I felt like if the villagers would be like there the whole time listening to him, and he was like exclaiming like, "Now I'm in this shit town, with these dumb peasants, and I just got to get back to the kingdom." You know what I mean? Like this is just bullshit. And then they're like, "We're right here, like we're standing right here. Like, why are you talking shit about us at our town?" Because that's what it felt like. It felt like it was an arrogant asshole.
Big difference between internal and external dialogue there.
Yeah, he inspired me to make a whole sketch about it. Anywho, I'm not gonna play that game anymore. So that's the
Good
thing.
choice. Good choice. All right. It's on Game Pass if you want to try it. Otherwise, I think it originally debuted on the Switch. I'm probably going to give it a pass regardless. But there you go, Octopath Traveler. All right, let me take over for a minute here. Talking quickly about Samurai Showdown. Do you have any experience with the Samurai Showdown series of fighting games, Carlos?
Yes, and I'll tell you one quick memory because we did already another tangent, but this is tangent number 2.
Sure.
I was in college and they had the Samurai Showdown. Was it college? Yeah, it was college. It was Samurai Showdown arcade machine in the cafeteria.
Okay.
So a lot of good memories because it was one of the first times where I got free food. You go to lunch at a college and you have that little pass or whatever.
Oh, yeah, like the meal plan or
The
whatever.
meal plan, yeah. So I'd be like, "Oh, it's like pizza night or whatever," and like you have dinner there and all that stuff. And it would be like we go get a bunch of food that we called free, but we were paying for it in
Yeah,
student loans.
actually not free.
I know,
Yes.
I know. And then we would play Samurai Showdown, and we play Fighter's History, right? I think
God,
Fighter's
Fighter's
History.
history. Jesus.
Yeah, and like art of what is the art?
Art of Fighting.
Art of Fighting. A lot of these weird Fatal Fury,
Fatal Fury. All the SNK fighters.
all the SNK fighters. So yeah, I'm very familiar.
Well, I played all those ones too. Boy, you were sending me on a real hard nostalgic trip down memory lane for all of those like Street Fighter wannabes, right? Street Fighter came out,
Yeah.
it blew people's minds, and then all of a sudden everybody wanted a piece of that pie. So all those ones that you named off were all kind of like the hangers on to the Street Fighter legacy. Some of them better than others. But Samurai Showdown was one of those who popped up after Street Fighter. And to me, I think it was always one of the better ones because it kind of took its own route. I mean, as the name suggests, everybody in the game was either a samurai or somebody that a samurai would have encountered. I think like one guy was a kabuki actor who also had like a knife on a stick. I'm sure there's a name for that weapon. I don't know what it is. I apologize to all of our Japanese listeners. There was a lady from France who used like a rapier, Charlotte, who's one of my favorites. There was a ninja with his dog. There was like a wild girl who had these little like bear claws and a whole variety of characters that were a pretty good cast. And since the samurai theme, everybody had like a weapon, so like weapon was the main focus. And you played Samurai Showdown differently than Street Fighter, where I mean, essentially, 1v1 fighting game, 2D side view. I mean, you know what a fighting game is like, basically. But The thing about Samurai Showdown was that the weapons could do some pretty serious damage, and it was kind of about really picking your shot, like really knowing what your opponent was doing, waiting for them to leave themselves open. You dash in with your sword, and you would just fucking hit them for like a chunk of damage. Like it wasn't like a million combo hits and stuff. It was like somebody attacked, they missed, you ducked under it, and you stabbed with your sword, and like a third of their health bar goes down.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like serious combat. I was always kind of a fan of that. Liked the feel. I liked how different it was. And I haven't played the game in quite a while. I think the one I liked the most was Samurai Showdown 2. That was real big in the arcades where I was going to high school back in the day. Um, and I know there's been various versions of it here and there. Haven't really paid much attention, but the whole thing has gotten a revamp, redo, do over. And Samurai Showdown, I'm playing it on the Xbox X. It is redone and kind of again following Street Fighter. So Street Fighter kind of led the way recently with like between 4 and 5. They instead of doing traditional 2D graphics, they've kind of done that like enhanced 3D pixels on a 2D plane, but it also looks like super animated and like super colorful. Everybody's got these gigantic feet and everybody's real chunky. Samurai Shodown has kind of followed in that path in terms of art style. I don't know that it necessarily works for me. I feel like it's a little bit too much like Street Fighter, and at the same time, the graphics are not as sophisticated as Street Fighter. So I think it looks a little bit not great. I kind of wish they would have stuck with just really, really high-end pixel art.
Mm.
I mean, to me, that's what I'm most a fan of, and that's what it reminds me of. Because I think there's something really expressive about a well-done pixel that just isn't captured with chunky 3D models. You got to be really badass with your 3D models to kind of capture that same level
Well,
of expression.
what's interesting is what you just said is that in the beginning they were themselves a unique thing, right? They weren't trying to be Street Fighter.
Yeah, and it feels in that way like it's kind of at least visually kind of copying it a little bit too much, but not doing a great job of it. I kind of wish they had kept doing their own thing. But graphics aside, I mean, it looks okay. It looks okay. I think the models could use some more detail. They could use some more animation, but it's fine. It's fine. But they still do have that same feeling of pick your shot. You've got a weapon. Like one good swipe with your sword can take off like a third or a half of somebody's bar or something. So I feel like that part of the games is still intact, and I still do really enjoy that feeling. I went through the story mode a couple times with different characters. I went through with Charlotte, the French girl who uses the rapier, like I mentioned. She's a real fun one to use.
Wait! I just remembered Charlotte. I got a flashback. She's cheap. I think
mean,
I think she's got a cheap move with her freaking rapier thing.
it's all about can you counter it? I mean, I don't think
No,
she's cheap. I think
I don't
she's a
know.
good character.
I just had a bad flashback from college. That's all. I don't know what it
She's
was,
a,
but I
she's
lost to her a lot.
You lost 50 cents at one point. You're
Oh, I
still
lost more
burning
than
about
50
it.
cents. Oh my goodness.
I played Charlotte. I like Charlotte a lot. Played Ukyo, who was actually my main for a long time. He's like this guy who's like sick. He's got like tuberculosis, and so like between matches he coughs up blood, which is really kind of gross.
Oh.
But he's like this like super handsome kind of emo dude who's like dying from this illness, and so like all of these Japanese fangirls follow him around between matches and while he's coughing and
Oh, I
stuff.
remember that. That's so funny.
Yeah, he's got a really like low bent over stance, and he can like extend his sword out like so far. It's like half the screen if you commit to one of those big moves. I just love the way he played because it was kind of like an all or nothing with him, and I
Yeah.
really thought it was really cool. You were almost like sniping with his sword. It was really fun. So I think the graphics are not great. They're okay. I wish it was pixels, but they're not. Whatever. Gameplay still feels very intact. It works well online. I will say though, one thing that's kind of bumming me out about it is that half the cast is DLC, which is kind of making me frown. So like you get into this character select, there's like one page when you buy the base game, you get all the characters on the first page. I'm like, okay, cool. There's like all the people that I recognized from before. Here's Charlotte over here, there's Uki over here, there's Hamaru over here. Okay, I'm down. And you flip to the second page and there's like an equal number of people. It's like I want to say it's at least 10 people per page, and the second page, they're all got a little price tag on them. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, dude. So I went over to the online store, and I believe it's like $20 for like pack number one, $20 for pack number two, or you can buy them for like $5 a piece. And I'm like, I mean, I realize they got to fund the game. They want to kind of keep it going. They probably want to keep it as a live service. Maybe they're going to get it into the fighting game circuit. I don't know. But like buying a game and finding like fully half of the characters being DLC really kind of chilled me.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost some enthusiasm for it. So I might have put another $5 or $10 into it if that's all it was. But I mean, you're talking like another $40 on top of what you paid. And in full disclaimer, I got a code from the publisher, so I did not pay for the base game. But I was like, dude, do I really want to put $40 of my own money into
Yeah,
this
you're
game?
buying the game.
Yeah, like you're basically buying the game again. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it's a good alternative to Street Fighter, or to Tekken or something like that. If you want something that feels so different, and it does, I think it's good at what it does. But at the same time, it feels rough. There's not a whole lot of bonus modes, not a whole lot of content, and seeing half the roster DLC was kind of like, it was kind of a bummer, man.
Yeah, and you're just buying characters. Like for me, I mean, it's slim pickings on the fighting games that I will still play nowadays because
Yeah, yeah.
that tangent we went on is, a moment. Like at college, you're around your friends, you're sharing a moment. And
Constant PvP in real life, people like coming in, coming, going. It's like a
yeah,
whole scene.
yeah. And so without that and me sitting in front of like looking at like the lobby and not knowing who we're going to play, no, that's not the same experience. But
Yeah.
so yeah, for like I don't think I'd spend money on characters if I'm just like fighting random people.
Yeah, I was torn because I wanted to see them, like I wanted to get a feel for all the different characters. But kind of like you said, like, back in the days, it was like, loser pays, winner stays. And, when you got your adrenaline's going and people are watching, like, it's one thing to kind of really get into a fighter like that. But, I'm here on my couch, like you said, I'm just playing by myself. And,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get online because those people are like super obsessed and they're like 10,000 times better than me. So that's no fun. So I'm doing the story mode and it's fine enough. And I think it's a good game. I definitely want to be clear. I think it's a good game. But yeah, I don't know that I want to put all that extra money in just because I'm playing on my own. So yeah,
Well, if anything, it gave us a walk down memory lane, and now I'm thinking about college and fighting games.
there you go. Yep. So that is Samurai Showdown, playing it on the Xbox X. And again, I do think it's a good game. I did really enjoy spending some time with these characters that I did have fond memories of. So there we go. Carlos, I have one more game to play. No, I
Are
have
you gonna
many
play a
games
game
to
on the
play.
podcast? Ooh,
No, we're not going to
wait,
live
are we
stream that,
live
no.
streaming? Are we Twitch streaming? Are we Twitch gaming?
No, we are not doing that, and that's not something that's on the table right now. No, what I meant to say was I have one more game to talk about, and I think it's a doozy. But before we get to that, let's go back to Cyberpunk Corner. We haven't been there for a while. There's
Yeah.
patch 1.2 just came out. I know a lot of people are excited about that, including yourself. So I have not been following the game. I have not started it yet. I'm waiting for the true PS5 next gen upgrade thing before I start playing. But I know you're in it, man. Like you're living in that world, dude. You got married to that chick. So what is up with Cyberpunk patch 1.2?
Okay, let me just back up a little bit. We're not married yet, okay?
Oh, too much commitment. Okay,
We're in
gotcha.
quotes seeing each other, and we're just seeing
Okay,
how
all
it
right.
works. She's great, but like, just don't.
But
start
not
putting-
ready to put a ring on it
Don't
yet.
put a label on it yet. You know what I mean?
Don't box him in. He needs his freedom.
That said, I have not went back to Jig Street and hooked up with anybody since I've been with Pan Am. So just
Okay.
put that on the record
Okay.
on the podcast. I'm faithful to Pan Am.
Semi-committed. All right.
But we haven't tied the knot. Anywho, yeah, I was so excited about this patch because not only just like some quality of life stuff and a bunch of kind of bug fixes, but also there's like 3 main quests that I've talked about that I can't finish. And they're like little gigs and little small quests, but it frustrates me because I beat everything else on the map. So I was excited about that, and I woke up and they're in Poland, CD Projekt, and
Yes.
they launched the patch notes at 2 a.m. here in Pacific time. So at 6 a.m, I got like the messages on my phone that like, oh, everybody's already doing videos. And now that I'm like a YouTuber, like for real, like I'm like, oh shit, I got to get up and like make a video about the patch
You
notes.
missed the window, dude. It's already done. If you weren't on top of that,
I
forget
didn't
it.
though. I didn't because the video did pretty well and a bunch of people saw it. So I think
Okay,
I
all right.
rode the wave a little bit. But I missed the next window because after they put out the patch notes, they literally put up the patch the same day. And I was expecting to have like a whole day of it chilling and talking about the patch notes, but nope. And that's how I missed the boat because then everybody had videos of them already using it.
Already doing it. Yeah, I got
So it just happened Monday, this past Monday, I think, or Sunday, Monday. Yeah, Monday. And it was like a 40 gigabyte download for PlayStation.
So it's like an entire game.
Another game, yep. And most of it, I'll say this, straight up 75% almost, I would say, or maybe even 60, was quest fixes for things in the game where I've already beat all that.
So you already got through them and
Yeah.
finished them. So it
It's
didn't
like-
benefit you that way.
Not really. But I will just quickly go over a few of them here on the show that I do like or that are weird. And if you want the full list, just go check out my YouTube channel because I basically am making, I don't know, 2 or 3 videos on this whole topic. But in general, the big one was supposed to be they fixed the police. Do you remember that?
I do not know anything about what was wrong with the
Oh,
police.
okay, yeah. And by the way, if you wait for the PS5 version, yeah, you're gonna wait to the end of the year, probably, if not
Oh,
longer.
I'm fine waiting, dude. I got so much to play, dude. And honestly,
Okay.
it's kind of weird because I know that you are like super into Cyberpunk still, but like for most of my circle, it's like this game has vanished. Like people stopped talking about it, people forgot about it. Like it just has zero presence right now. So I kind of honestly just forgot about it.
Zero presence in your neck of the woods and your
Exactly.
crew,
Yes.
but
Yes.
like it is insanely popular with, I mean, definitely this huge group of YouTubers who are just covering it because a lot of people like me just want to be in the world and it's a fun world to be in. The bugs at this point aren't like, you're not seeing like bodies floating through the sky and, everything crashing and freaking out. It's pretty stable. So, and also if you've played like me, the full mission, the whole story, and all these side missions that were really powerful. Imagine me and you like talking about The Witcher 3 and
Sure.
you had not played it yet, right? And or no, I had not played it and you were like talking about how much, you enjoyed going back and playing just in the world and like defeating monsters because you had such a good first experience. So, anyways, I was lucky enough to be able to play it on the PS5. The one of the main things was they were going to try to fix the cops because the cops were they would just appear out of nowhere when you did something wrong. And, that's just kind of a bad AI type thing where they just show up and like literally through the walls, right? Like just, it doesn't make any realistic sense.
Oh, no, I didn't realize that was a problem.
That
Okay.
was, yeah, that was how they operated, like since the game came out. And we all just kind of accepted it, this cyberpunk crew that I'm a part of. So now they fixed it. And the fact that, like, if you do a crime, a drone or a cop will be in the distance and come after you, but they'll have to see you, and they'll come after you. And then if you kill them or you fight the cops, then more cops will show up, but they won't show up like right behind you in a magical way, but they will just keep coming. So they aren't like driving their car up and like getting out of the car like a GTA would or something. It's still like they're just appearing, but they're appearing further away. So it's giving you like this a little bit illusion of like, oh, they must have
Man.
come from around the corner. You know what I
That seems
mean?
like a weird, yeah. I mean, that seems like a weird thing to let go. I mean, I'm glad they're fixing it, but like to let it go in that state of where cops like magically like teleport through a wall and grab you or something, that seems like kind
Mm.
of a big deal because I'm guessing, probably going to be chased by the cops quite a bit, I would suppose.
Yeah, I mean, if you do any sort of explosion in the city or fighting gangs, I mean, just randomly cops will be mad because you've alerted something because you've killed someone accidentally or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my whole thing is it's not fixed yet. It's like slightly better, but it's still weird. And then the other thing that was how for me, I was a really big one was this quest called the Bugbear. Her name's Bugbear. You're trying to rescue this girl, and it's still broken. It was
Oh
like
no.
yeah, it's like you can now get in the building where the girl is to rescue. And I was like, oh, I got in the building. They fixed it. And then when I got to the girl, I couldn't interact with her. And I was like, why would you do that to me? It's like a tease. It's a
Were
bad tease.
any of the quests? I think you said you had 2 or 3 quests that were bugged. You couldn't finish. Could you finish any of them?
None of the 3 I can finish.
Oh man,
Of all of,
seriously?
and by the way, this is what's crazy about it. It was 500 like fixes. The patch
Yeah.
notes was like super long, and everyone was laughing at how much stuff is in here. And as I was reading it that morning and like making a video, I was so excited. I was like, "Ooh, look! It says it fixes a ton of quests and bugs. Cool, that's me probably, right?" No, all the 3 ones that I'm trying.
Wow. So they fixed 500 bugs, and none of that 500 were the 3 that were
Nope,
bothering you.
nope,
Oh, jeez.
and that's crazy. That's
Jeez.
crazy. The other thing is that they said they fixed the driving a little bit, and that's mainly for people on PC. So I guess that's cool. That's cool. And then what was the other stuff? I mean, there's such a huge list, but for me in general, nothing really improved too much, which kind of sucks. Some of the
Oh man.
UI quality of life stuff is better. I won't bother you with all the details. It's almost like Fortnite. I think Cyberpunk is becoming for me. It's no, seriously, hear me out. It's like this ecosystem, right? And this like community. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And we get frustrated at like icons. You know what I mean? Like the icon of your character is now a new color on the map. That's a big deal. Like, and we're like really happy that that changed because now you can see them better. Stuff like that. Like they did a ton of stuff like that that is good. But for me, going back in, trying to like pretend that I have DLC when there is none,
I
you
mean,
know,
that's the thing, right? Because like I'm hearing you, I know you like you totally did as much of this game as you could, and then you even went like a lot further than that. But it's like you've done everything, and the stuff that's left to do is still bugged. I mean, like what is there even to do? Like I'm hearing you talk about it. I'm like, man, like I'm trying to imagine myself, and I just like once I finish a game, I'm done. I move on, and that's it. I don't look back. So like, what are you even still doing in this game?
well, that's interesting. That's a good question, and it's almost like I've never answered it, and even to myself. And so I'm
Jump
going to
here.
answer it right now in the podcast. The first thing I'm doing is you can play and just find random gangs and find random cop stuff that still does show up and
Is
spawn.
this like procedurally generated stuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's small and it's boring at this point for me, right? But you can still level up, and I'm still leveling certain skills up. And I just
Aren't
got
you doing
like,
like 10,000 points of damage with like one kick of your boot or something?
I don't use my boot, I use my blade.
Whatever, but you're like a walking death machine,
I
basically.
am a walking
Nothing
dead
can
machine.
stand up to you right now.
Nothing really hurts me. Yeah, I found a military drone that was like the size of a car, and I hit it with my knife, and it went down. So here's the other answer though, and it's a very interesting answer. Then we can maybe leave this. But
Right.
the other reason I'm playing it is because what I just said about Fortnite. There's not many games, and you know this, that I want to be part of a community of, right? Like I play a game, a lot of single player games, and then get out, right? Just let's
Sure.
finish this game. Maybe I'll play some DLC, and you and I will talk about it. Then I'm out. But and I don't play the MMOs, and I don't play Fortnite. But this game is like that because you asked me why I'm still playing it. Partly because I like the world and I want to go just do some side missions, and I'm waiting for DLC. The second reason is to be part of this community where you go in and you see what's new and what's changed. It's kind of fun. Like it's kind of be like, hey, did you notice? Look at there's more graphics on the street corners now, or there's like a whole new system that they just added, and it is that kind of like games as a service is to me is what Cyberpunk has turned into. Um,
Except it's not though. Like
it's not, but by the way, it will be because they are adding multiplayer, and you know that they're gonna. I think they're gonna do the GTA
the GTA Online thing. I'm
online
sure they're
thing.
probably
Yeah.
shooting for that. Yeah.
So it's almost like just if you're in now, like a No Man's Sky, right? People left No Man's Sky and they
Sure.
came back. But I think they are building something similar because again, you're not doing this with your circle of friends, but like every day I'm talking to people on Twitter or on YouTube about this game, and we're all in there treating it like that type of experience. Like a lot of us are. So
Interesting.
that's the other
Interesting.
reason. It's a very interesting reason why I'm still playing it.
All right, there we go. Cyberpunk 2077 patch 1.2. I'm sure we will continue to get further updates as they are made available.
Yes.
One more official game to talk about. We got some Q&A, some comments here before we wrap up. Okay, so I was reading my email. I get, as the editor of GameCritics.com, I get a bazillion emails about new games like every day. Like so many, I can't read them all. You can't watch all the videos. I'm just drowning in PR, right? But I saw one that looked a little bit interesting to me. It was called Operation Tango, coming up soon. It is an asymmetric team game where one person, I assume, is like an operator handler, and the other person is like an agent, in the field, like a spy operative or something. I'm like, okay, that looks kind of interesting. And I had not heard of the developer. They're called Clever Plays. I'm like, oh, I wonder what else they've done. Maybe I can look them up a little bit because I like to do that. I like to see the trajectory of people's work. I like to see what they've done. Maybe they've done a game that I really liked in the past, or maybe they did a game that I thought was really terrible in the past, and it can really inform your buying habits, or to help me as editor focus on, if I get emails for 200 games a day, I can only focus on 10 of those. Doing some research can help me narrow that down.
Yeah.
So I started looking into them. I believe Operation Tango, again unreleased, coming up soon, is their second game, I believe, and their first game is called Leap of Fate. And I started looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? I remember seeing PR for this game, but I totally did not pay attention to it. It came out, I think, I want to say 2015, maybe 2016, so a little while ago. And I remember thinking the art was really not great, and looking at the screenshots, and the screenshots were not great. And I'm like, I never tried it. It was one of those things where I had to choose. Is this one of the 10 games I'm going to focus on today? The answer was no, and I forgot it, never looked back, moved on in my life.
Wait, so what's the release date? Was it a while ago?
It's like 2015, 2016 for Leap
Holy
of Fate.
crap. Okay. But you're talking about an update right now, or did the actual old game?
Getting there.
Okay,
Getting there.
sorry.
So what happens is I'm looking them up and I'm like, oh, Leap of Faith. Yeah, I kind of remember that game from back in the day. I thought it looked, not great, but I know it's available. I bet I can get it for like $5. Maybe I'll jump in and see if it's any good. Maybe that will help me decide if I should focus on Operation Tango or not. So I find it on the PS4/5 store. I think it was like $10, maybe $12 or something like that. It is a top-down twin stick real-time action roguelike where you control one of four they're not like cyber mages. I mean, kind of think of like Shadowrun or something like that, where like
Mm.
you're a magician, but you're also got a lot of tech. You can hack things, but you've also got spells. That kind of a vibe, right? Like you're a magician, but you've got a cyborg eye or something. It's top down, twin stick, move with the left stick, shoot with the right, and you go through these randomized roguelike levels. So I'm like, well, okay. I like action. I like top down roguelike. Okay, this seems okay. Jump into it, start playing the game, and I'm like, wow, this game is fucking amazing. It is like so good. I was really surprised because yeah, the promo art sucks. The screenshots do not really do a very good job of communicating what kind of game it is or really what's good about it. But once I started playing, like within like 5 minutes, I'm like, oh shit, this is like a really, really, really good game. I really like this a lot. And I've been playing it like a ton, almost for the first couple of days, could not put it down. I just was like so addicted to it. So what makes it good? You have four different characters. Each character is wildly different. And I love the way that they each play. Like the first guy is kind of like your generic magic user guy. He does like a lot of rapid fire spells. And he can like dash through things. The next person is a cyborg. He's got like a robot arm and he shoots like this laser where you can just like keep it on. But like the trick with him is like he overheats. So like it becomes like a meta game of like, oh, I can shoot these guys with my lasers really powerful, but if I leave it on too long, I overheat. I lose the power for a couple seconds. That leaves me vulnerable. Really interesting. The next character is a girl who gets out of an insane asylum. She's got a sword. She's got little spirits following her. She can reflect bullets back with her sword that nobody else can do. So that gives her like a whole new spin.
Mm.
And then the last guy is like this Russian, kind of like a Rasputin type character, Russian mystic, where he operates differently. He's got like a totally different mechanic how he gains power. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but let me just say that he operates differently than everybody else in the game. So each character feels very, very different, but they're all interesting. Like each one is really fun to play in a different way, and I think that the developers did a great job of coming up with ideas that really make each one stand out. Like it's not just palette swaps; they feel like each one brings something new to the table. Once you start playing, the game is actually set up like kind of a really neat tarot card system where you're looking at a table, you deal out some tarot cards, and you choose which card you want. That card becomes the level that you go into through a really neat visual effect. And you just kind of select, like you just look at the board, you're like, well, I feel like doing this level. And it'll be like, oh, this is 2-star combat, or this is like, here's treasure over here, or here's an upgrade over here. And you kind of decide where you want to go. And so depending on, do I have a lot of life? Do I feel like I can do combat right now? Maybe I should go get some treasure instead. Or maybe I need to go look for like a power up instead. You kind of like have some self-determination. And once you get through some of these levels, you can go back to them too. So for example, if you leave some treasure behind, or like maybe you were full life at the time, but then you take some hits later on, you can go back and pick up some of the health drops that were in a previous level. So it kind of is very flexible, lets you really take advantage of the system. And there's also this like double tiered system where as you're going on a run, you have temporary skill tree where like as you're going, you get some powers, get some money, level yourself up. But if you die, you lose all those skills. But there's also a secondary skill tree, which is permanent. So like it'll give you like these permanent skills over time. So you may have, got a really cool weapon or maybe like a really cool ability on one run. You lost it. That kind of sucks. But at the same time, you're building towards the permanent skill tree, which overall makes your character that much better. So even if you've like lost your good stuff a couple times in a row, you still end up with a character who's stronger, more capable, and lets you get that much further in the game. So I think overall, there's a million little systems in it that are all really smart. Like I think the upgrade system, again, not going to get into super detail, but the upgrade system is really great. I think the characters all feel really good. The action is really frenetic and fast paced. And the best part about it, one of the best parts, and something that I think a lot of roguelikes miss the boat on, is that you can complete an entire run, like from start to finish, like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes if you take your time. Like really quick, right? Like I get tired of roguelikes where it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I was like, dude, that is way too much, especially if you die. Like all that time, all that progress, forget about it, especially if you don't have a robust progression system. But this one, jump in, do a couple levels, earn some upgrades, make your character a little bit stronger. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You want to go all the way, half an hour. That's like super bite size. That's a really manageable size. And I just love that all of these different elements come together. I really wish that they had spent more money on the art, because I think the
Yeah.
promo art really does no service to how really good this game is. The in-game art is okay. It could be better. It's a little bit low poly, but that's not really the good part of the game. I really quickly forgot about the graphics because playing it is so fucking fun. But I wish they had poured some more into the art. And I really wish that they had done, and not them. I mean, I don't mean to say it's their fault or anything, but I remember getting PR about this game. In fact, I could even go back in my Google Mail and like pull up that PR from back in the day. And like nothing about that PR really makes it sing. Like I'm like, man, if I had played this game back in the day in 2015, 2016, whatever, I would have been like shoving this in everybody's face, being like, everybody play this. This game is the fucking shit, dude. But like it looked generic. It didn't sell itself. PR didn't do a great job selling it. And it's like, it was just a freak that I saw these guys now, 6, 7 years later, and was curious enough to want to go back and see what they did in the past. I mean, not everybody's going to do that, and it would be a shame, that leap of fate with this game that is just buried and lost in the sands of time, because it's fucking brilliant. It is a great ass game.
So I played this game, and now I know that. Now I know this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I did, and because I remember that card system where you throw out the cards and they become different things or different levels, right?
Yeah.
Like the cards are the levels, right?
Yeah, it's similar to like Hand of Fate, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, I know it's different. Yeah, I played both of these. I definitely played this. I liked it, and I'm not a roguelike person, as you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And like you said, because it was so short, I did like it. I remember liking it for that main reason. I was like, oh, I can get through something like this. You know what I mean? Not the 5 to 6 hour one you explained. I just won't get through.
No, that's
like
too long.
Ever.
It's way too long. Yeah.
The other thing is, I remember the graphics being not good. Like me being like frustrated that they weren't better.
Yeah.
And that does, like you said, we just talked about on this show, like it does, you're going to spend some time with the game, then the graphics should, resonate with you. But this is such a short period of time, you can probably look past it because the gameplay's so fun.
Yeah, and the camera is scaled out pretty far, like it's a top down, so you're not really noticing that the characters are pretty low poly. I mean, you kind of see it in cutscenes. You're like, that doesn't look great, but you're from a top down view most of the time, so it's not really bothersome. But man, I wish they would go back to this game, like just top to bottom, like redo the art. This would kill right now because everybody is so in love with roguelikes. And I mean, I really want to stress. I mean, I play all the roguelikes. I'm like Mr. fucking roguelike, dude.
All the roguelikes.
This is like absolutely one of the best ones I've played in quite some time. I would strongly recommend anybody listening to this podcast, if you like the roguelikes that I like, if you like roguelikes at all, go back and find Leap of Fate. It's got to be like $10-15 at the most, probably more like $10. Maybe you can catch it on sale. 1,000,000% worth your time. So many smart decisions, so many cool little tweaks to it. It feels great to play. I mean, I love basically everything about it. I really wish that the developer would like go back and like remaster it. That would be fucking amazing. But even if they don't, worth every penny. I've had a great time with this game. I give it like a 100% recommendation.
That's so funny. This game and this game review is kind of like a tangent review because the first game you were talking about was their new game, right? And that's
Operation Tango, not even out yet. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, here's a game that they're gonna make, but let's talk about their first game. Which, by the way, we should do a whole episode of that. Like, let's go back to the developers' first games or something. That'd be fun.
Bubsy 3D.
Oh, maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. So that's cool. I'll recheck it out. But I remember playing it, and I think I did actually beat it because it was so short. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, maybe I do like roguelikes. And then flash forward to the future. No, I don't like them.
Yeah, man. It is such a great roguelike. So many smart decisions. I love every bit about this thing. I think it's just a fantastic game. I really strongly, strongly recommend. If you like roguelikes, if you have not played this one, add it to your library. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. It is such a great game.
Groovy.
That is the last title we are going to be officially talking about, but we do have a little bit of commentary / Q&A. We got a comment on our SoundCloud a little while ago. Full disclosure, I don't check the SoundCloud very often. Anybody listening, we love all your comments. Very grateful for all your comments. But I feel bad that I don't check the SoundCloud. You told me it was there, and I'm like, oh shit, I had no idea. I think Twitter is probably the best way to get us, but I'm still appreciative because we got a comment from the baddest super fan, the man who's got blood on his hands, the guy who leaves a trail of sobbing widows in his wake. It's the Killmaster. Greg Killmaster. Hey, thank you for leaving that comment. Here's what he said. He said, I love hearing you all improv this show. You do it so well. Helpful to me because I stopped about 5 hours, assuming he's talking about Days Gone, wondering if it was going anywhere. So now I'm going to give it another shot. Thanks for talking about the moral issues without preaching. Common, decent morality does matter. Agreed.
Yes.
I appreciate how you're able to bring this into the conversation, and thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Killmaster. Because thank you for being a super fan. Thank you for listening. And if it gets you to go back to Days Gone, then I think that is a show that has achieved its purpose. Wouldn't you agree, Carlos?
Yeah, and also I think I've heard this comment before in different tweets or DMs or whatever, but I do like the fact that we can flow in and out of real world stuff. And I don't mean like what we had for dinner, although we might talk about that. But like, how we feel about how people should be to each other, and like men and women issues and gender stuff and race stuff, like and politics. I mean, they jump in and out of our discussion about games because games are just like movies or music. It's entertainment, but it's also discourse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to give us a pat on the back as well, alongside Killmaster, and say, I think it's fun how we do it. And again, we aren't preachy. We're just saying how we feel, and then we kind of try to swirl it into the conversation naturally.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of issues that you could bring up if you really think about games more than just simple keeping your hands busy, mindless entertainment. If you really pick apart what a game is, because people make games, people have to create these things, and everybody has their own thoughts, their own opinions, their own politics. People that are making these games are not just like these blank slates. They're not just like plain, nothing. They're not super neutral. So you got to like look at these things, and I think a lot of them can bring up issues, can bring up discussion points. I mean, especially something like Days Gone. Certainly, there's so many things you can talk about in that game. But I'm glad to do it. I enjoy doing that. I know you do too, and I'm really glad that the Killmaster got some value out of it.
Thank you, Killmaster. And also, we are doing this live podcast. We'll be doing these monthly, hopefully, if not more. And Tim Van Ingen?
I think it's Ingen. I'm going to say Ingen.
Just messaged us in the chat and said he was playing Days Gone. And he said, although I do appreciate the characters and story a lot more than in the beginning, because he's near the end of it now, it's still not a fun game to play, he said. Sad face.
Oh, man. I would like to hear more about that, Tim. What is it about it that you don't like? Shoot us a message if you are still listening.
Yeah. Oh, it's Soulbrod from Twitter.
Oh, yes. We knew that. We know you. In the meantime, last question. We just got this right before the show. Comes from Tom H., also known as Chris383 on Twitter. He says, completely ignorant questions from a busy father with no free time. I work nights. I only get 3 hours of sleep on weeknights, and I have a vast interest in Monster Hunter. Been interested for years, but I've never played a single entry. Should I get Rise? Is it worth the effort?
Ooh, and we've not talked about it on the show yet.
We have not. I haven't answered. You're not going to get into this, Carlos, are you?
Well, remember, I liked the weird console version you didn't like.
You liked Monster Hunter World, which was okay, not my favorite by any means.
But
you don't like weapon sharpening. You do not like weapon sharpening.
I don't.
Here's my answer. Tom, I would say that if you have been interested in Monster Hunter for many years but have never tried one, I will clearly say that Rise is the one to try. I think this is the best place for you to get into it. Now, it's the hunting genre, which Capcom invented. It's got its own, little quirks and ins and outs, and that's not exactly like any other game out there. Would be happy to answer your questions. If you got some, please send them in to me. But if you are interested in this, if you've got a general idea of what it's about, if you want to give it a shot, this is absolutely the best one, and I'll tell you why. We are going to talk about this maybe on the next episode. I'm about maybe 15, 20 hours into Monster Hunter Rise right now, and I love it. I think it's probably the best in the series. But I think the reason it's good is because there's tons of quality of life changes that have never been in the series before. So many rough edges have been sanded down, so many shortcuts that have been added for the better. There's so many time-saving things. There's so many different choices that Capcom has made to really make it more playable, to reduce the cruft, to reduce the bloat, to reduce things that just don't add to the fun. So I think they've really taken a sharp scalpel and cut away a lot of the stuff that just didn't really have a place in the series anymore. Longtime fans like myself might have been really surprised to see some of the elements removed. And, there was definitely a few things that kind of made me raise my eyebrow. But once I really was honest about it, I wasn't sad to see any of those things gone. It was just, I thought they should be there because they've always been there, but they don't really add any value. So I think this is the leanest, meanest Monster Hunter so far. There's tons of content. I think that if you want to get into the single player aspect, if you're a busy dad with no free time, definitely do the single player stuff. Pretty good difficulty curve. I've been making really good, steady progress. So that's pretty good. And also, if you've got kids or if you're really busy, you got to put your console down. If you are playing in the middle of a quest, this is one that you can easily pause. Just put your Switch in a sleep mode. It pauses the game. Nothing happens. You can come back to it whenever you need to. Makes it very easy to pick up. And on top of that, the quests are pretty reasonable. Some people, when they start playing Monster Hunter, they feel like the quests are really long. And I will just say really quickly, if a quest is really long, then you need to up your equipment. Like you're playing with equipment that's too weak. Mm. The ideal quest is maybe 10, 15 minutes max, right? So if it's taking you longer than that, you probably need to upgrade your stuff. But in general, these are bite-sized quests. You can get a lot done in a short period of time, which is great if you don't have a lot of spare time. You can pause at any time. Good, tons of content. I mean, I think this is the one to get into. You may not like it. Like Monster Hunter's not for everybody, right? So check it out. But if there is one you're going to like, I guarantee you it's going to be this one. So hopefully I have answered your question.
All right. Well, he should check it out. But also, we will talk about it on the show very soon, I'm guessing.
Probably next episode, I'm guessing.
Okay. And I just one question for you about it. Are you playing it on the TV or just on your Switch?
I am doing both, but in general, I am playing it on the TV because I like to use the Pro Controller. I mean, you can use the Pro Controller when it's in handheld mode as well. But I think the Pro Controller is much easier on my hands, and it's a pretty intense play session every time. So I like the more comfortable grip on the Pro. Yeah. But I have played handheld. I think it's great either way. Works just fine either way.
That's what I was saying. Even if I do try to go into it, I'm not sure. But if
you should not get into it. Don't do it.
I know, but anyways, I probably won't. But if I did, I would want to wait till I had a Switch Pro or something, because right now I have the handheld only.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I'd want to do that much action on my handheld for
It's kind of rough on your hands. Yeah. It's kind of rough on your hands for sure. So check it out. Tom, hopefully I've answered your question. Like I said, I probably will talk about it next episode. If you have any more questions, please hit me up. Always happy to talk about Monster Hunter, lifelong Monhun fan here. And I think that's going to do it for the show. Carlos, any last little bits?
I have a quick Ion Games field.
Oh, shit. We haven't done that for a long time.
It's just because these are two, to me, kind of bigger games that I've been waiting for. And you wouldn't think the first one would be because it's such an indie. But I saw Black Clouds is out, and I've been very excited about this because I think it's the same people who did the game that we like, that I never do our homework, and what's it called?
Night Shift?
No. The one with the lab, right? Wasn't it the same people who did the one with the lab, I think?
Oh, man.
So what I'm talking about is an interactive fiction game.
FMV game.
FMV interactive game. And we played one, which I can't think of the name of it right now.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that we can't remember because I thought it was great.
It's a lab or something. It's called like.
Oh man. Okay, wait. I'm
just gonna make us think of the lab. It's called the Lab. You know the game, the Lab. It starts with a D, I think.
It's not called that.
Anyways, that game, I think it's the same developers, and it's called
The Complex.
The Complex, right? So, can you see if they make this? I think they do. And if so, I just had such a good time with an interactive game. I think we both did. And I saw Black Clouds is supposed to be even like weirder and an interactive FMV game.
I know the same publisher. I'm Googling fiercely, but I can't find out without making a whole lot of keyboard noise. But it is the same publisher. I know that Wales Interactive are the leaders in revitalizing FMV right now. They've had a lot of really strong picks. I really like a lot of their games. They've really turned my opinion of FMV around. So I'm definitely... I'm about to pull the trigger on this, so maybe we can talk about it next episode.
You should. It's like $11 or something.
Is it? Okay, that's pretty cheap. I'll pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of work they put into it, it's like a movie, like a Netflix series or something, and they just kind of made it this interactive thing. I have faith it's gonna be good. We'll talk about it maybe in the next episode. I'm gonna try it this weekend.
I'm writing down the script. We will talk about it
Okay,
next episode.
good. And the other one is that I will also talk about next week, and guess I've already started, is Disco Elysium finally.
Oh, I gotta get into that. That's the game that everybody in the whole world was telling me I need to play.
I have a hot take already, but I can't say it. I'll keep
Oh
my lips.
snap! Okay.
Let's just put it this way: if I have a hot take, what does that usually mean?
I mean, I want to say it's bad.
Yeah, make it
Maybe. I don't know.
Before we go, Agent Snickers, great name by the way, in chat says, "You sound like a smoker. Don't try Monster Hunter. It'll mess your life up, kid."
Nice.
Yeah. See, by the way, in streaming, because I used to do it back in the day. Some might have said I started streaming, but we won't get into that story for
The
now.
man who started streaming. So
maybe.
honored to be with you, Robert.
But anyways, I haven't done it for a while. And what happens is you have to be streaming for a long time, and then people finally show up right when you're about to stop the show.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we need to start doing like 5-hour episodes or something. We let everybody show up at the last 5 minutes.
Well, maybe not that. Also, before I go, one more other idea, and this is a good idea. I'm just going to put it down in the podcast, which means it's real. Is I think we should do, when we do the next live podcast, we'll do like chat with the audience Q&A at the top of the show. You know what I mean? Get everybody involved.
If we can get people to show up, I say let's do it.
Yeah, we will. Well, we just sprung it on them in 2 seconds, so we'll do it next time.
All right. Well, I definitely am down for Disco Elysium. I feel like I'm probably going to buy that once I get off the show with you, and maybe we should talk about the next episode. Let's definitely talk about She Saw Black Clouds, and I will probably talk about Monster Hunter Rise. We're giving everybody a little sneak peek into next week's episode.
IAM's Gamesfield.
All right, folks, that is it for the show. Thank you very much to everybody who joined us here on the live stream, digitally downloaded. Zolbrod, Agent Snickers, everybody else, thank you so much for being here. Really, really super appreciate it. This was fun. And again, if you're in a different part of the world, let us know. Maybe we'll do a different time zone, make that work out for you. But for now, usual spiel. Send us your questions and comments. sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @sovideogames. But you can hit us up individually. Carlos, where are we directing people towards you this week?
YouTube.com/a-lot-of-things. I have a lot of cyberpunk videos. If you want to be part of the community, or if you already are, come on over.
There you go. As for me, same as usual, Twitter and Instagram. My name, BRADGALLAWAY, all A's, no O's. And that is going to do it for episode 226. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live. And also, if you're listening later, for joining us at all here on the Videogames podcast. And we'll see you next Friday. But in the meantime, this is Bye from Brad.
And this is Be Cool, Daddy-O. I'm Carlos, and I'm saying later.
You didn't know where you were going with that.
Not at all, and I just like that I didn't.
Yikes. Okay, we out.
We definitely are out. Let me stop this one. It'll be really interesting. I think it's going to sound really good with your Audacity file.
Let us find out. I am